Hi, everybody. Welcome back to second. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this. We're keeping that.
We always fuck up something.
I have fucked it up every single time. I have. It's like the yips. I've got the yips. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Second in Command podcast. My name is Timothy Simons.
I'm Matt Walsh, and Tim, we deserve each other.
We deserve each other. We used to be a V pre-watch podcast, but now we do this. We look at the politics of cinema in the cinema about politics.
And we have a great guest today.
We have a wonderful guest, one I'm very excited about. We've been trying to get him on for a little while. Very excited to have Mr. John Gabrus here.
I'm so stoked to be here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I don't get to talk about modern movies that much, so for me getting to speak on Shooter or something newer is very thrilling to me.
Because you do Action Boyz.
Action Boyz is like 70s, 80s, and 90s movies. We haven't. If it didn't come out on VHS, we don't cover it.
Is that like a locked-in
That's
rule?
kind of our rule. Well, kind of Ben Rogers' rule. He kind of makes all the rules, and we just play along. Where he's
the organized.
Yeah,
one.
he's the organized one. So we kind of go like, me and Stanger are like, sounds good to me, brother. Like, you made the entire list of movies for the year already, and it's January. Okay, yeah. Well, I got to trust you on this, pal.
So I know Ben a little bit, and I guess I wouldn't have. Maybe I don't know him well enough. I don't know that I would have guessed that he would have been the organizer.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a world's tallest little person situation where, like, if he wasn't the organized one, it's not going to be me and Stanger. Like, we're too dumb.
Of the three of them.
Yeah, of the three, it's like I think he kind of had to step it up. I think, if you're going to be the guy that picks out all the movies for the, like, he curates our episode list, so we he's allowed to be a little bossy with that stuff. Yeah. He's allowed to make parameters because he's doing enough effort where you're like, yeah, okay, bud, let's do it.
One thing that I love about you, Gabrus, having listened to you on Blank Check and having listened to Action Boyz, well, number one, you have like a buoyant positivity and this wonderful energy that you bring to everything, but you also seem to have like a deep knowledge of that genre of film.
Yeah, I kind of like was literally raised in it. Like Van Damme and Seagal and Stallone and like Schwarzenegger were like who I grew up with in a weird way. Like even my dad, who we didn't have a lot in common, and this is so easily unpackable in therapy, is like the one connection we did have was action movies and martial arts movies. So it's like weird that now that's quote unquote weird that that's what I'm doing with my entire life. And my deceased father, I'm like, do you finally think I'm a man? Like, I'm just like these guys. Like, but yeah. I don't know how much of a deep knowledge, but I would describe it as a wide, shallow knowledge. Like,
okay.
And I'm kind of agnostic. I like most movies, like, and I think that's the positivity and the buoyancy part of me. But I'm just like I'm happy to watch a movie. Yeah. Like there's the act of it is like almost enough, and in like now watching a movie feels like reading a book. Like, in like this world where like for me that, and also like, I'm going to sit down and watch a 2-hour movie. Like, I'm proud of myself if I pull that off. Yeah, and it's like, that's embarrassing. But with my attention span and society and all the bullshit you have to do, like, every day, it does feel like you're doing something for yourself when you go to the theater or sit down and go, like, I'm not pausing this shit. I'm fucking sitting down and watching a full-blown movie right now. Throw my phone on the other side of the couch like I'm a goddamn hero and be like, I'm not going to look at this for 90 minutes. Let's go, Bobby Lee.
Do you ever, like, when you're not on mic with a friend or a cousin or someone and they start shit-talking an action movie, do you ever go like, hey, it's not easy to make a good movie? Are you that guy a little bit off camera or off mic?
I'm a little bit that guy because making movies is hard.
Yeah.
And when you watch these movies that I thought were bad when I was a kid now also have this like newfound, like, we don't know how good we had it.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't know what kind of fucking AI slop was in the trough down the road. And you're just like, what is this bullshit executive decision? This is like and then all of a sudden you watch it now, you're like, man, craftsmen made these movies. Like, especially like the older movies, there's like, it's just like, whoa, what is this bullshit ass thing? Oh shit, it's fucking shot by Roger Deakins. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden you're like, this like 90s thriller that felt like a throwaway when you saw it is now like a piece of fucking art when you watch it. You're like, oh, effort went into this. Like,
We just covered, a couple friends of mine came into town, and we covered Sudden Death, the Jean-Claude Van Damme hockey movie.
I messaged you
The
on
hockey.
Instagram because it's famously the vice president that's there.
Yes.
That's such a funny like choice of stakes.
Isn't it?
I am fire marshal in Pennsylvania. I am fire marshal. I am here. I love hockey. I'm American.
Darren is his name
Yeah,
too.
Darren McCord. Darren McCord, fire marshal. You
Fire marshal
You
in Pen-
squirted her. Why did you squirt her with your squirt pistol? I love that fucking movie.
Stay here. Do not leave seat.
Do not leave seat. Your dad's the fire marshal. Like the stakes they chose for that movie are so fucking fun. But it's a blast.
But it's a
Yeah.
blast. And also, you see, like, when you talk about AI slop and whatever, like, they fucking had helicopters above the Pittsburgh Pirates hockey stadium. They had all those, like, EMT, like, trucks outside. They had all the ambulances. Like,
They had a full stadium watching Division III hockey players wearing NHL jerseys play probably 12 hours of hockey.
Yeah.
That game, I got really invested in that game because it was like 2-1, 1-2. I'm a Chicago guy. And like the Hawks are, and they had real names on. They had real names on the jerseys. The guys skating weren't the guys.
It's so real, and that's one of the main things I think when I watch old movies now is I'm like, God, they got all these people together for this, and that it means so much to me. Recently, a great movie doesn't feature any presidents or vice presidents, but Unstoppable, the train movie with Denzel. There's a sequence in that movie where 3 choppers are flying over 2 news choppers and another chopper is dropping a guy onto the train. But then you also know there's at least 1 chopper shooting this. So all of a sudden you're like, they put 5 fucking choppers over a train to make this shot in the movie. It's worth it. But people used to just put in the effort or like the money, whatever, like if we conflate money and effort these days, like in filmmaking, that's like people used to be like, no, I have to have, and then now people will be like, oh, well, I'm just happy to have a movie made. Yes, we can lose the chopper stuff. We'll lose the train. It'll just be Denzel in the booth just talking the whole time. Still a great movie. I would still watch it. But.
One of my favorite parts about that exact moment in the movie Unstoppable is so the guy that they're lowering down, they're like introducing him on the news, and there's just this moment where they're like, and he's a veteran, and it's almost like knowing the audience of everybody in the audience just being like, yeah, like,
fuck yeah,
he's a veteran. You can just
give a veteran a job, a life-threatening job when he tries to land on a moving train.
I think he fucking hits up against the train, gets knocked. He's like,
he's dangling for
like,
sure, yeah.
This entire time we have been talking about the 2007 film Shooter. 2007,
Starring Mark Wahlberg.
Yes,
2007.
Yeah.
2007 it was released. Yeah.
So 2007 movie Shooter, directed by
Antoine Fuqua.
And
is that why you chose this one?
I chose this one because I saw when Tim sent the list of like movies that feature, and I was like, I love this movie more than I should because I'm not a fucking Wahlberg. I'm not a Wahlberger, but I am. There's something about Fuqua's movies, and previous guest of the pod, Max, gave me the name. I'm a Fuquhead.
A Fuquhead, which God,
get the Fuq out of here. I am a fan of his movies because he kind of makes straightforward. I have this new taste in films now. Weirdly enough, that's developing where I love like all these art house people that are making like interesting choices and stuff. But I also love like Antoine Fuqua or Gerard Butler or Jason Statham, who are like, I know my lane. I'm gonna deliver. Statham is like, once a year a movie is gonna come out where I have a job title and I do karate, and you're like, I'm on board. And so Fuqua, I feel like, has got this. He's got an artist mind, but he's got like a workman. He makes the Equalizer movies. He makes the fucking. I love his King Arthur with Clive Owen. The first movie I saw that hooked me is Tears of the Sun, which is the Bruce Willis like special forces movie. And if you are wearing tactical gear and like a neck communicator and have a machine gun, I'm on board for your movie no matter what. Like,
there's something about and honestly, like, this did make me think about Den of Thieves in a way that and we can get into that later, but there is something sort of about like this. And this is like a little bit reductive, and I don't exactly mean it like this, but this kind of like elevated trash
Yeah.
It's like it's so well done, and it's done by craftsmen, but it is not meant to like. It's not The Brutalist. It's not meant to be like an art house epic piece of cinema.
No,
It's
there's
like,
something about trying to make a blockbuster.
Yeah.
That is like kind of interesting where you're like, look, it has to be good. It has to be well made, but we are aiming for like everyone to go like, come on, Bobby Lee, shoot the bastard. You know, like you want like Ned Beatty to die, the most charming guy ever. You're like, shoot this fucker in the head by the end of the movie.
The two main characters in this movie are Bobby Lee Swagger and Nick Memphis. Like, absolutely. I am so fucking on
It's
board.
like it might as well be John C. Reilly and Mark Wahlberg picking out their like porno names in
It's like a Shane Black script.
Yes, it really is. Another fucking hero of mine. Yeah,
I like it too because like what you're saying, like the workman like genre or whatever that Fuqua delivers on. It's basically his hero doesn't have a lot of dialogue that's not getting him to the next kill.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it's really like sort of those stoic vigilantes they don't talk too much. Like if some movies get bad when the guy's talking too much. Like Van Damme gets in trouble when he talks a little bit much. Wahlberg is right in the zone. He doesn't say a lot of extraneous shit.
No, on Action Boyz, we always talk about those legendary actors who we love, who like Bronson and Nicholson and these guys who, when they get a script, are like, no, lose this line. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this. I should just look at him here.
Yeah.
And they're just like, that's like a pro fucking move to know like less is more at at some level where you're like, why am I monologuing? I'm fucking Charles Bronson. How about I just say, you're dead?
But Wahlberg does a good job of the silent acting in here. I thought, yeah.
And also, I always love, like, I have a very specific love of the trope of a group of people talking about your hero in, like, a way. Like, it's most famously in Under Siege, the Steven Seagal movie, where they're like, Casey Ryback's on that boat, and like on a full war room of like super decorated generals with like dozens of fruit salads on their shirt are all like, God damn, we got Ryback on board. He's a fucking hero. And like just talking about Bobby Lee Swagger, like I love mythologizing the character of the movie you're watching.
There's always one guy in the room that doesn't know who Ryback is. Like, who's Ryback? And they're like,
welcome to the fucking party, kid.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, of course you would, because when he was in Vietnam cleaning up, you were still shitting your britches. Some line like that that has to happen. I love all of that.
You were still on your mama's teat. Like that sort of shit.
Yeah. And then also this movie lightly touches on like not believing the government and like inside conspiracy theories, which now feels weirdly topical watching it. Like, what are you supposed to believe or not?
Yeah.
And also, I think Pena is good in literally everything he shows up in.
Yeah.
He is. He's very natural.
He's so natural. He seems to be just doing some slight variation on himself as a compliment. And when he's in a movie, I'm just like, you feel for him, and like he's in the perfect role of like just a guy who's a fucking absolute Bobby Lee Swagger stan.
Yeah.
After getting like his fucking neck nearly broke by him, he's like, I fucking, the guy's a fucking hero.
That guy.
You know?
I kind of believe this guy.
Yeah, I believe him. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna kick it to historian Walshy, who's gonna bring us through the larger sort of pop culture and political world of the year leading up to this film's release.
Yeah, kind of like when production was happening and filming. It's kind of the lens that the audience was, when they sat down in that theater, what was sort of on their mind, or we speculate what was on their mind. So 2006 to 2007. One fact I found out, Doug Flutie drop-kicked a ball for the Patriots for the first time since 1941.
Holy shit!
And
That was probably deep on people's minds.
Well, I'm just saying it's an era. It paints an era. Obama was president. I mean, those are the obvious ones.
Obama's president. Flutie's doing God knows what.
Since Pearl Harbor, somebody did a drop kick extra point. It's interesting,
awesome.
And it was his last moment in the NFL. The Duke lacrosse team scandal happened that year.
Oh yeah,
that was interesting.
One of the funniest first internet meme videos that went around was Nancy Grace, because she went so hard. Do you remember Nancy Grace?
Yes. Yeah.
She went so hard on the Duke rape scandal that she was like, All right, and I'm going to throw this over to Darren, and he's going to talk about some of the stats. And he's like, okay, with Duke off the board, Hofstra is surging to number 1. And she's like, wait. Darren, what are you doing? I meant the rape stats. And he went, I'm very sorry, Nancy. I will have those for you in a moment. Like, he fully misunderstood.
He's doing
Oh my
NCAA
God.
lacrosse.
NCAA lacrosse standings, and she was like, "No, you need to get like the stats of like how many people are raped on college campuses," and like he's just so much like, Nancy, I'm very sorry, and I will have those for you shortly, and it's incredible. But he does like a sportscaster voice, surging to number
Oh,
1.
that's awesome. Newscaster bloopers used to be the best thing.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
like when the internet was first coming around. I would be so excited to watch newscasters slip up. It was always so funny. But now, and I think part of why it was so funny was because they are the arbiters of truth and they're these
Yeah.
serious. But I feel like that's gone.
That's gone.
There's no one is gonna watch no, there's too much news, so there's too much fucking content being made, but also no one is fully trustworthy anymore. Like, we don't have a fucking Cronkite. We don't have anyone.
Peter Jennings
Yeah, we don't have a
yeah.
Peter Jennings. I guess Brian Williams was maybe the last one, and he straight up was like, I fired an RPG at Kuwait or whatever. You're like, oh, okay. But it's like,
I strangled 3 ISIS dudes myself.
I was on United 93.
Whoa, what?
Well, speaking of news, Katie Couric becomes the first woman to anchor a newscast this year.
Oh, wow.
Which had never happened before, which is crazy.
And this is the mid-aughts. This is
yeah,
2007.
2007. It's 6 to 7, yeah.
That's
in there.
crazy.
Isn't it? Twitter is launched. Twitter came out right around this time,
Holy
craziness.
shit. Arguably the beginning of the end
Yes.
of
Yep.
it all. Yeah.
Barry Bonds eclipses Babe Ruth, hitting his 715th home run. The World Seed Vault is started
Ooh, I have
up
a friend.
in Norway.
I have a friend who, whenever you see the pictures of the Norwegian seed vault, he's the guy that took those pictures.
Oh, that's
That's
cool.
like he's like a photojournalist who does a lot of like sort of tech stuff, and also like there's like a place where they grow new coral reefs to like it's like the seed of how to grow new. He's like he had to learn to scuba dive to take those pictures. Like he does
That's
insane
cool.
shit like that. Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah.
That is really cool.
Those are the things that I need like every once in a while to like hear about and take deep breaths of like someone is trying to conserve all our seeds.
Yeah.
Like that. It sounds crazy, but I'm just that kind of relieves me of like there are like five. And maybe that's part of why I am drawn to Shooter or drawn to these movies too, because it is just feels like, well, one person refuses to do what's wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One person sticks with their guns. One person's like, they're getting rid of funding for everything. It's like, well, I got to get these seeds in the vault. And you're like, thank you for your service. I got to make coral. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels rewarding. Of course, I am doing none of that.
I
But
also-
but it is cause for hope.
Yeah.
It is
I
cause
agree
for
with
hope.
you.
I also do love that Gabrus is like, as he's like about to start watching Dirty Harry for the 15th time, he's like, well, I could cross the seed bank thing off my list. Like somebody's got that handled. Like
Yeah, that's
What
not me.
can I
that was
do?
stressing me out.
What can I do to help out?
I guess I could carry a 357 Magnum around San Francisco and hope to find the Scorpio killer.
Yeah.
The last Ford Taurus rolled off the assembly line, so they discontinued the Ford Taurus this year. And you know who got the last Ford Taurus? Truett Cathy, the guy who founded Chick-fil-A. He bought. They gave it to him because he was a weird car collector,
I got the last Taurus.
and he put it in his,
Enjoy.
Cool, man.
he put it on display in Atlanta in his little weird collection of cars, I guess. Which is, I don't know. The Taurus is like a bygone era, I guess, is my point. And then box office wise, movies that were coming out within that year before this one came out: Talladega Nights, Casino Royale, which introduced us to Craig, I believe.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's maybe the
All-
best recent Bond.
It's
All
so
time.
good.
Yeah.
It's
So when he
good.
gets poisoned in that one,
yeah,
man, that's so good. Da Vinci
got
Code.
Mads Mikkelsen just fucking eating.
He's
It's
so good. The teary blood tears.
blood tear.
is so cool.
Yeah. Da Vinci Code, X-Men Last Stand.
Da Vinci Code, man. That movie trilogy has done numbers, but nothing will be bigger than Tom Hanks's haircut in that, right? He's got the most insane. I think it's the Robert Langdon is his character's name.
Yes.
He has like the weirdly long hair.
Yes.
That just does not look right on Hanks for some reason.
The professorial long hair, I guess. Yeah. That's a
I
good
watched all of those in like a fit of like, I think early pandemic, and weirdly enough, in early pandemic, I watched all the Daniel Craig, 007s, and then I watched all of the Dante's Inferno or all of his Angels and Demons. I forget what the 3 are, and they were all just fucking. You just staring at Hanks's hair the whole fucking time.
I read the book on that.
They didn't even pivot in the second movie to be like, that wasn't working.
No, I think it must. I read the first book too, like a long time ago. It must be an important part to the character, because I would be like, someone's got to just fix it for the third movie. We don't need to. He's like, no, Langdon's got this weird esoteric haircut that no one's had in 30 years.
Yeah, and Veep's Dave Pasquesi is in that series, if you remember.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, when they're in Italy, I forget what.
Pasquesi just popped up in an Action Boyz movie with one line. The Puppet Masters, the Donald Sutherland like alien invasion movie.
Wow.
They're randomly in a lab and a guy steps in and goes, "Very interesting, huh?" And it's so obviously Pasquesi. Like, you know his I know his voice is like a longtime improv fan. He steps in and says it, and you're like, "Holy shit, Pasquesi's working!" Like,
well, he probably was in the Da Vinci Code stuff because he's like fluent in Italian.
Yes.
His wife is a travel writer and writes like Italian travel books. So I'm sure there was like here we have this obviously incredibly talented guy, but also like if you just need him to like jump into some Italian or whatever.
And also had long hair like Hank, so maybe it made it better.
Yeah, it made Langdon look less weird. They're like, we need some other old guy with a weird haircut to.
So it's not mullet. It doesn't feel like a mullet weird on Hanks. So let's get a long-haired actor in here.
Here's a visual reference for those not familiar.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, like come on, that's comical. Like, I mean, if he wore that, if he stepped out to in SNL, like an SNL sketch with that wig, you'd just start laughing.
Yeah,
it's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. The other movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. That was the #1 box office. So
Jesus.
That gives you a sense. And you know what else came out the year? Not a box office smash, but a cultural touchstone, Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that's what kind of was going on. And then the only music that I caught, the biggest thing that happened that year, Steve Jobs debuts the iPhone.
Oh, yeah, that coupled with the Twitter
The Twitter thing, we can really feel like we can plant a flag in where shit started going wrong.
The iPhone gave us, you could have an iPod on your phone, it had a camera, and it allowed you to web browse and load up apps. So those were like the innovations that just lit the fireworks that's blowing up.
And like apps destroyed the internet itself. Like, or let me rephrase that. Apps destroyed the idea of websites.
Yes.
Like there's no longer a destination website. You go to social media or your email and that's it. And those are arguably apps now. There's almost no reason like for younger people to like surf the web. Meanwhile, I'm constantly like, where is that restaurant? Let me Google its name and then click on the restaurant's link or whatever, you know what I mean, to figure that out. But now, like with apps and social media, you kind of just you don't go to a website.
Right, like Yelp would do that, right?
Yeah. Or you go to AV Club and to look up movie. Now you're just like, everything is like inside an app where you're like, well, I guess I go on Letterboxd to see what people think about a movie. Like nothing is like, I mean, I used to have like a list of like 12 websites that I would go to like every single day to see the updates, like AV Club, Delisted, like the celebrity gossip rags. All of that stuff just got cannibalized by apps and the social media in such a crazy way where there's no like go-to website on the online, whether you're looking for comedy, movie answers, video game stuff. There used to be like homes for all these, even like something like College Humor, like not Funny or Die. None of that exists anymore. They all exist as like apps, like, which is such a crazy.
So if I want to see a funny video, I'm just on YouTube, right? I'm just scrolling and stuff, or they're feeding it to me.
Yeah, you're feeding it to you. It's almost hard to search anything with the talk about AI slop. As a guy who still plays video games, if you go like, how do I get past this level on insert X game? you get like 40 links to such obviously AI generated websites where it's like you click on it and they're like Assassin's Creed is a game where, and I'm like, no,
that's not what I want.
This is
Got
not what
it.
I want. And it just, and then there's like 25 websites named like Gamer Rant, Gamer Screen, Screen Gamer, and they're all like slight variations, and they all have the same copy pasta like in that, and you're like, this is what's on the fucking internet right now.
Have you heard of
And
that?
is that someone trying to generate ad revenue by having that site there? Somehow
Yes.
you're eventually going to click on something
Yes.
that will give them money?
This is where it gets really disturbing, is like they get money without having to like deliver on what they promise. It's like all about, it's like everything is
Bait
so
and switch.
scam adjacent, like it's, or directly a scam. Yeah.
Have you heard of like the dead internet theory?
Tim, I stopped myself from saying that so I didn't go full tinfoil hat here. I'm obsessed with this.
It's incredible.
me.
The theory is that essentially there is actually no one on the internet, or the internet is becoming essentially bots interacting with bots. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Bots interacting with bots making websites, AI-based websites where a large swath of what's online now is not human. And what is the number where that's a tipping point where it's just like
More AI than
more
human.
AI, and then we might already be there just because of the breadth of how it works and like how the algorithm works. We might just already be there where a majority of the transactions or interactions, better word, a majority of the interactions happening online are between two bots, a bot site interacting with a bot, like, and the idea that number is only going to grow. Like the portion that humanity is on the internet is only going to shrink as it expands like exponentially.
A good example of this was that I saw somebody breaking down like an Instagram reel where there's a woman who's like, let me tell you about my life after I married a Saudi Arabian sheik. He bought all my clothes. He would never allow me to like fly on commercial flights, so I always had to fly private. And it's like a video of a woman saying this, and then like pictures of a private plane, and this is our house, and we had a private chef. And the guy's like, every single thing in this video is fake. Every single thing in this video was made by AI. That is an AI woman. That is an AI photo. And he's like, this account has 252,000 followers, and every once in a while, a link is dropped, or there's like in that they might be like, oh, and he made me use this one face cream all the time, and a link for that face cream is in the bio, so that like it is created. It is completely false, but created for you're doing like that brain rot scrolling that you might click on the link to buy that face cream, and that's how they make money.
Yeah. It's fucking upsetting.
It's upsetting.
And
what are the bots doing when they're interacting with each other? Are they just stealing cookies from each other? Like what
stealing cookies from each other, and for them, interactions are what make them thrive. So if a bot clicks on your website, it shows, oh, our website got 50,000 clicks, but it could be
it's positive. It's just a number. Like, oh, we're getting more data or action
and
engagement.
Also, the engagement then drives how visible it is, and then then you are actually
then
just
it's
a
being
real.
served to you, and you're like, I have no idea what this is.
I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, and I guess in order to crank the wheel left back to where we are now, talking about AI slop of movies, we are now like, this is 2007 when we thought movies were shit, like, and now it's been retroactively proven that's like they wouldn't make Shooter now.
No.
Like, and I know that's like a meme. You can never make Blazing Saddles now or whatever, but they wouldn't put a shit ton of money behind like an action thriller that didn't have a book, a comic book. I mean, maybe Mark Wahlberg could get it made if it was like a pet project, but it would have to be like Bobby Lee Swagger is an extreme Catholic or something.
Right.
In order for him to like juice it up and make it.
Can I say one thing?
Wow.
I want to just jump into Shoot, or is there anything else from the list?
Gnarls Barkley Crazy was a big hit.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
I love that song.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
It's objectively a good song.
It is. I saw him at Lollapalooza like shortly after this year. He was fun.
I love the idea of Walsh at Lollapalooza.
In Chicago, I
Just
was
going
home.
fucking crazy in the pit, pushing his way forward.
No, I was not in the pit. But
There is something. Is this one of, that Saturday Night Live thing of Andy Samberg? Hey, Mr. Chicken.
Say hello to your mother for me.
Say hello to your mother for me. I feel like there are moments of this performance that are very say hello to your mother for me.
He's in the say hello to your mother for me pocket at this
Yeah.
point. This is when the impression of him is being like like crystallized. Yeah.
And speaking of hair, he had a great ponytail for a brief moment.
Oh man, he
Post-
pops. He gets that Commando opening scene where like I'm a guy who lives in like another trope of movies I love of like in Rambo 2 when they track him down and he's in like a monastery.
Yes.
Doing, like I love this of like this is where Bobby Lee Swagger ends up after the government turns his back on him. The fact that the entire premise of the movie also somehow ties back to the cold open sequence is also very funny.
Yes.
And unnecessary. Like you don't even care, but it feels fucking good. It feels. And maybe this is another genre, another trope of movies I really like. It feels like it's trying to say something, but I'm not exactly sure I get it or agree with it. But I'm happy that it's trying to say something.
I'm not clear what it's trying to say, but
Yeah.
yeah, we'll keep.
It's
talking
almost
on it.
as if the big takeaway is like, hey, it's not good to kill a full village. And it's like, hey, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your
Yeah,
service.
that's actually, I'm glad we made a movie about that. Like, it does feel like the end result is like, well, I hope we learned a valuable lesson. We're not wiping out entire villages anymore. Yeah.
One thing that I was interested about why, like, we have done a lot of, and I think this might just be the generation of people that we've had on as guests so far, because let's ask. Oh wait, no, you already covered why you chose this one. What you like about it?
Yeah.
But this is interesting in that we haven't really covered a lot of movies that were developed in and around the Obama president, sort of post 9/11 movies.
The Afghanistan campaign.
The Afghanistan campaign, and you're really seeing that, I feel like, in this movie in a way that, like, we covered a lot of stuff from the 90s.
Right.
So like the political world was different, and you can see, like, in this sort of larger sense that, like, the theater of war that he is in is very different than the one you would have seen in the 90s.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would feel very normal to start out a movie with somebody like in a desert setting.
Yeah, in the Middle East somewhere, as we say in movie making, in somewhere yellow.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Mexico, South America, and the Middle East, they get the yellow tint, and you're like, if you're a white guy with a gun in a yellow tinted area, you're killing people. Like,
Yeah.
These movies are just like, yeah, when you go there, it's dusty. You better have a gun and a scarf. Like, it is so that, where you're like, and then we're just like, who are these people driving the road? I don't know, but you better fucking ice them, Bobby Lee Swagger.
But
Yeah.
pretty green when they pan in. It's pretty green.
Yeah.
Like they were in the fertile part of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Like it's
Well, I feel like it
green
ends
hills
up
and stuff.
being the Horn of Africa. They keep talking about the Horn of Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, and where is the guy, the Archbishop?
He's an African archbishop.
well, he's from Africa, but in the beginning, Wahlberg's in Afghanistan.
Is it?
Well, no, because
No?
it ends up being that he was protecting an American convoy who had been responsible for the killing of
that
all
village.
of that
I'm
village.
sorry. Okay.
So no, I was mistaken about this too.
Okay.
But again, this is, I think, to Gabrus's point. It's like the movie doesn't exactly know what it's.
Yeah.
You could even see them being like, yeah, we shot that for Afghanistan, but we just figured story-wise it worked better if that was the convoy. So, yeah, that's the Horn of Africa.
Yeah,
you
it's
know
like
what I mean?
the Red Dawn remake where China got mad and they just like switched everyone to Korea. Like,
Yeah.
They just changed the uniforms in post. Like that's just such a crazy change the fucking dub, change everything.
Wow.
Like Top Gun Maverick is
Yeah.
and a fully unnamed country.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, it's one beat away from being called Bad Guyistan. Or
Yeah.
something, like something super offensive. Yeah.
It
Well,
is.
that is something I love. I think maybe it starts happening in the 2010s, but action movies start taking place in separatist nations, and it starts being like they start to realize like the global appeal of these action movies. We can't be like we're going to the Philippines where they're letting shit happen. We're
Yeah, where
killing
everybody
Filipinos.
sucks.
Yeah, right. So like I forget which bad Fast and the Furious one it is. It's the one with Charlize where they're driving on the ice and they're like they literally, and this is something you'll hear in a lot of action movies starting in the mid-aughts through the 2010s. You hear them go like, and it's a terrorist cell organization that's taken over the entire city, aka everyone's a bad guy. Like, you're allowed to shoot whoever you want. You, the viewers, don't stress that this just might be a guy who lives in the town. Like, they are all terrorists. Like, that's in the movie Plane with Gerard Butler. It's like they land on a separatist island in Southeast Asia where it's run by like an illegal, like a violent despot, so that you can just have like, we're not because movies just used to be like, it's all Filipinos
Is it
that are
because
dying.
overseas box office is more important than domestic, right?
I believe
Essentially?
so, yeah,
since
like-
the mid-2000s.
Right, like,
yeah.
and you can't just, and also like, just for global relations, you don't necessarily want to make a movie where like half of the nations where we'd be like, this is a movie where we go over there and we kill everyone there. It's like, well, there is like Filipino town in America. Like, you know what I mean? Like we have tons of Filipino Americans here. We can't just say like we go to the Manila and kill these fuckers. You know, it's like and it becomes this thing where like
I just picture like a Filipino grip going, hey guys, I'm in the fucking union. Can we just make this more generic? Like he's on the set every day helping these actors kill Filipinos.
Yeah, helping like any random Asian guys pretend to be Filipino and
that
shit.
guy's not even speaking Tagalog or whatever. He's right. Okay, so he's in the Horn of Africa, not Afghanistan. Was Danny Glover in any way connected to them abandoning Wahlberg? Because Wahlberg kills the guy who says, get out of there, leave him there. But Danny Glover is above that guy?
I think so. I think we're supposed to assume Danny Glover had something to do with that mission, or his organization he's covering it up, whatever State Department.
And it
CIA
also
world.
kind of seems like it isn't really that far in the past, because when he ends up meeting up with Kate Mara, he says something about like it's been 3 years, but it feels like a decade.
Yeah.
So I do think that, we can assume that Danny Glover is maybe involved, but they also make reference to essentially this is like a 9-headed beast, and one head will betray the other and cut it off, and then a new one grows, and it has that feeling of like, yes, it's the U.S. government, but it is also like a shadow cabal inside of the U.S. government.
Deep state.
But much like American-made movie can't just go like the U.S. government is disgusting. It's like, no, it's like 8 bad actors ruining it. It's not like the systemic. It's not how it's run that's the problem. It's Danny Glover and 6 other people. Once Bobby Lee Swagger kills them, American government is back to being for everybody. Like,
well, then we can't get the Humvees for free from the Army. So we got to make nice with the Department of Defense.
Everyone's playing those games.
And the drone shots, those are free.
Yeah.
Those are recruiting.
I mean, like this
incentives.
is a movie that also has like I made a note of it, a very distinct backlit slow motion flag waving shot. Like, it's not trying to tell you that like America isn't the land of the free and the home of the brave. So it definitely can't go too far like the whole American government is corrupt.
Right. And that's like the fun line to watch all these movies walk for me. It's like, how do you make a jingoistic movie that is also about corruption in America? Like it's hard to do both. And it's arguably impossible. And they arguably don't pull it off in this movie, but like you're just still like, I just love the idea of it. Also, another genre of like a trope of movies I probably always have liked is if they were low key, also recruiting tools for the military.
Yeah,
that's always worked on me from Top Gun on. Like, you know, all these movies is always I wanted to be a Navy SEAL until I was like old enough to really understand what went into it. I was like, oh, Christ!
You know, what was it? Maybe Angel Has Fallen. We covered all 3 of the Fallen movies.
Those are that's one of my Mike Bannon genre is one of my favorite. Yeah,
the opening of the 3rd one, which I think is Angel Has Fallen.
Yes.
Just straight up looks like cutscenes from Call of Duty. Just straight up. They're like, wouldn't it be fucking awesome if
2, which is my favorite one, London Has Fallen, features Aaron Eckhart as the president of the United States of America using an MP5 to kill terrorists. And it also features Mike Bannon say, go back to fuck-Hedistan or wherever you come from.
Ooh,
and it's just like, this is just, and we're like, yes! And like the president is standing right there, can just go like, hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
We get invaluable trade from that, you know?
Pump the brakes.
I love those movies. Yeah, I love hyper capable, and Bobby Lee Swagger gets a lot of those moments in this where he's like, go to the store, get these 11 things, get these from one store. You know, like he gets to do like, do you have sugar, salt, basic
I love
milk?
all the shopping. There's like 3 significant shopping sequences in this. I love them.
He does one alone when the power outage. Then he does one.
Yeah, he goes to like the florist market.
Yeah.
Sugar, needle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For triage.
Yep.
Then he goes with. Then he sends
Kate Mara with a list.
With a
They
list
go to
of-
different places.
so that no one could track her down. That's to go full surgery on himself.
And you see the list,
Yeah.
and you see and the whippets were to knock him out, right?
Right.
That might be my favorite moment. I've seen this movie before, but I don't think I had seen it since it came
Yeah.
out. One of my favorite moments in rewatching it last night when he was like, I'm going to do all these whippets and pass out. Sew it up, sew me up, do a good job. But he just
You have about
starts-
20 minutes. He just fucking takes an insane rip, like he's at the Del Close marathon.
I was thinking of that. That was the
was thinking
drug
about-
of choice.
I couldn't believe. I was like, someone asked me once, "Have you done whippets?" I'm like, only at the UCB. Like I never got into them elsewhere. I've done them at a few parties, but Del Close Marathon somehow whippets were always
Alex
around.
was into those.
Yeah, dude, everybody. As far as I'm
Everybody.
concerned, everybody.
I never got
I would be
into-
in there holding on to the railing in the tech booth, like, like I'm falling into eternity here. And then it's like, all right, time to do Mortal Kombat improv or whatever. It's like, oh my god,
Drunken Sonic Assault, get out there.
get out there. Owen's wrapped in tinfoil for some reason. We'll explain it later.
It's either 2 p.m. or 4 a.m. and nobody knows.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
That is why, the whippets. I guess that's true. It would knock you out for 20 minutes.
Yeah, knock you out enough to get full-blown surgery done on you by a
Because
woman.
whippets generally get you buzzed for like 30 seconds or
Right.
something, right? And you're just, like you said, holding on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can imagine if you did some heroic rip, you'd faint.
Yeah, you'd knock out.
So this happened with sudden death, and it happened with me for this movie as well, where they're like, as it's sort of ramping up and as you're getting into it, I'm like, holy fuck, I'm so into this. This is so fucking good. Why don't I revisit this movie all the time? Like, the setup's fucking great. Wahlberg's cooking. Like, this is amazing. And I think in both of those movies, there is like a very distinct point where it kind of just falls apart.
Yeah.
And I do think that like 60% of this movie, maybe even more, like really fucking whips and holds up. But I think it's the moment.
shopping sequences are amazing.
I mean, that
I
was
love
really
it.
the big
Teach me,
takeaway.
teach me.
Gnarls Barkley, by the time they leave the theater, Gnarls Barkley is fully out of the audience's head.
That was crazy. The automated sniper rifle. Sorry,
Yeah.
man, I barely saw it. Did you know Flutie kicked like the last?
Barry Bonds just fucking eclipsed Babe Ruth.
But like, I think it's around when, I mean, basically it's once they have been arrested and then they're like in this meeting with the attorney general, which Kate Mara gets to be there for
Are you talking at the end?
at the end.
I would say 'cause-
Post mountain helicopter
Post-mountain,
shootout. Okay.
but,
yeah.
but pre-mount, there's like 4 medium endings on this movie.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is that like you realize after he ices all those dudes at the Russian sniper's house or whatever. Love that actor who's like low key been a bad guy
in the wheelchair?
1,000 movies.
Yeah, he's great.
He's in everything. I remember him from The Saint. He's also in the Saint movie with Val Kilmer. I forget his name, but that dude's always playing a villain of some sort. After that raid on the house, which the setup to is better than the payoff of, but
Yeah.
I do love blowing a helicopter. Like, that's Call of Duty shit. Shooting a sniper rifle at a gas tank to take a helicopter out off the top.
I think he shot it at the turret or whatever.
That's
right?
that's the first
That's
chopper.
the first
Okay,
one.
okay.
The second chop, he does take down 2 choppers with a sniper rifle in this movie, which is pretty fucking rad. But I think after they raid that house, the movie is all downhill from there.
Yeah.
And you could care less because
Is that to cut to Bozeman, Montana?
Yes.
Right after that?
Yeah.
That's a long ways away from Virginia.
right. You just don't care enough to wrap it up. You're like, wait, who's Ned Beatty? It's like he's the senator's behind it. It's like, okay, I guess I hope he dies. But then you really don't give a shit by the end of the movie. You're just like, Bobby Lee. I want the end of the movie to be him in Congress being like just blowing it all up. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is like No, I think that's the thing is that, and maybe this is from like we didn't know exactly what we were trying to say.
Yeah. Oh.
But it really does seem like, well, one thing I'm going to relate this to modern politics. Imagine an attorney general who, when faced with a bunch of calls, when he's like, yeah, I've gotten a bunch of calls from a bunch of very important people today, but I'm the Attorney General of the United States, and we believe in separation of powers, so I can tell you to fuck off. Like, I was sort of like, oh, that was a quaint time.
Dude.
Like,
if at
That's Rade Serb Bedizija. I just want to give him a shout out.
yes,
That's the dude, right?
Rade Serbedija.
Yeah, he's amazing. I just
so
want to,
good.
because we talked about him. Yeah.
He's so good.
And Tate Donovan, weird role for him.
Yeah.
In and out. Yeah.
There's a few people in this movie you're like, whoa. Like, even Danny Glover's really only in it, like, for 4 minutes total or whatever. And you're happy that he's there.
oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm
Yeah.
so happy. The first moment. And I'm going to throw out another name that I think you're going to enjoy, like Elias Koteas.
Oh.
When-
Being so villainous.
So villainous.
So unnecessary. He's the guy who eventually grabs Kate Mara with the shotgun and gets his
Oh.
hand blown off. But he's
Oh, yeah.
he's so selling it that they're crooked from
Was
the
he
jump.
in The Wire?
Was he in The Wire?
Oh, I don't know. He was Casey Jones in
That's
the, in
my
the Ninja
frame of
Turtles
reference.
Okay.
movie.
All
Yeah.
right, fine.
He's like always been like, to me, he's been like edgy Stanley Tucci. Like,
Yeah.
because they were like in that bald, like olive skinned category for a long time for
Yeah.
me.
And he is like, whenever he shows up, he's never had like the Tucci. He's never hit the heights of
Yeah.
Tucci, but whenever he shows up, I'm always like, this is going to be great. He's always going to do something interesting.
Yeah.
He has played good guys and bad guys, but he usually tilts toward
In this,
being a
he's
bad.
playing like a comical bad guy. Like, he's ready to shoot Bobby Lee Swagger's dog, like upon just
Immediately.
arriving at his house. He's like, whoa, bump the brakes. Who are you, dude? And then he's like, every chance he gets, he's super villainous. Even when they're having the mountaintop square off and he's got this shotgun to Kate Mara, he's like, let's fucking get. He's like all hopped up. You're
Yeah.
like, dude, relax. We know you're about to die this way. Yeah.
Also, when he gets Kate Mara the first time, he's like sexual creepy.
Yes.
He doesn't need to be.
No, he's all like,
Yeah.
he's like a wet work guy, so you think he's got to be like a pro kind of CIA villain.
Yeah.
Instead, he's also like, I'm also a psycho.
Yeah,
You're like, oh,
exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
But in a way, because of that, the movie doesn't really do a great job. Not like you're kind of like, oh yeah, this guy's a fucking psychopath. Immediately, you're like,
Yeah.
these are the bad guys.
Right.
These are the bad guys. Why is he going with them?
yeah.
And I think the movie suffers from not a great payoff in the ending, and I wonder if that's part of the issue with a movie about a sniper, is that you're like never going to be close up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's like sort of like no real place for a confrontation. And then also a lot of these movies suffer where it's like, what are you going to have? Mark Wahlberg fist fight Danny Glover at like 80? Like that's insane. Like, we can't have that to end the movie. But it does feel a little like blue ballsy to just be like, he shot 3 guys in it. And then I think that scene later on in Davos or wherever where he kills like the rest of them, that feels
yeah.
so added on just to be like, did everyone get away with it? And it's like, no, let's just have Bobby Lee
I
Swagger
think that
show
was
up and-
post focus groups, and they went back and said, maybe we need one more scene.
It feels so tagged on
Yeah.
that they were like, I don't know if this monologue to the Attorney General is the way to end the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
And you also
Right.
then leave with this idea where, did the Attorney General just fucking greenlight a sitting U.S. senator? And like,
Right.
you get the sense from him that he's basically being like, hey, you're free to go if you want to kill all
yeah,
those
if you want to
dudes.
sort out your problems your way.
Yeah, like
it's only going to help me come
I'm
election
not saying,
season.
but
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I did like the book depository moment when the fat cop comes in and
Yeah.
his belt's
Yeah.
undone. That was a good surprise.
Yes.
yeah.
And the Jack Ruby assassination of him, that felt very interesting to
Yeah,
me.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like, hey, you're unclipped, officer. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, well,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Stumble bum.
he's like a little sweaty, and you're like, oh, this guy is such a patsy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he goes to fucking ice him, right, shoot him from behind there, and then great moment, he fire. I got, and he runs up to Michael Pena, and he's like out of breath. He's like, I think I got him twice. I think we should be okay. Yeah.
That's the thing. All of that shit works for me. And
Yes.
it's all so fucking exciting. And I mean, like, and the movie goes fucking hard, too, in the moment where they, like, when they like rendition Michael Pena, and they have a fucking suicide machine.
Yeah, where you put your arm and
in the thing, like-
crank it, and he's like, feels like whoever invented that, they're like, all right, well, we got to use Homeboy's fucking machine. Like, you can't put a glove on, pull the trigger, and then put it in his hand like every other movie. Homeboy spent all night long making this fucking machine. It's fucking perverted. It's weird, man. It's like, just put him in it, put Memphis in it, and let's just fucking make it happen.
Like, yeah, you know,
And I love movies that choose fucking rich locations, but they're in like a one open-sided boathouse, like it's
By the river?
Yeah, it's like such a perfect setup to be like, where are we? Well, we're across from a bunch of shrubs where a sniper could set up. Like the movie does go a little bit out of its way to be like, let's meet on a mountaintop. It's like where a sniper would be good. Like, why don't we meet inside a room where a sniper wouldn't be good?
Right.
what if it was a
long
windowless?
open distances.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what if it was a windowless concrete room? He's a sniper. No. What's the most open space we could find? That is really funny. It's like Nick, who made the fucking suicide machine. It's like, man, if we don't use it, he's never gonna fucking.
What was
shut
in the
up about
script? I mean, we should have cut it before production. It says contraption that forces hand into.
I actually have something like that.
it. Oh no.
I think I
Dude,
could
too much
reconstitute it from like
information.
grabbing your cock and like cranking it. It's like forcing someone to jerk off. You're like, I think I could like make that into a gun thing if we have to.
That is too.
That
good.
is pretty terrifying, and I kind of like Pena's reaction to like everything, but then I do think he takes a turn like where he's almost like Bobby Lee Swagger's the best.
Yeah,
like, he goes a little too hard on his side, where he's like, you trust me not to shoot you? He's like, you're my fucking hero, Bobby. Shoot me in the fucking head. I don't care. I love you. Like,
Yeah.
it jumps a little.
Because they never tested the gun, right? That's his point in that moment.
Yeah, that he took
he
all the
hands
all the firing pins out of, and like.
He filed him down, I think is what he said.
I love all of
So
all of
weird.
that shit where
Yeah.
he's like it would be a micrometer to be able to notice what
Yes.
I did. All those specifics I really love. Even
Yeah.
when Pena's running through why it couldn't be Swagger, and he's saying the shit when he's like he said he saw a turret sticking out. That's not the way snipers fire.
Right.
Learning more about how snipers work is always
Yeah.
a
And he
appealing
missed
to
by
me.
2.5 feet, and this
Yeah.
is a guy who made a shot from 2000. And the if you were going to come up with a bishop from Africa, what's his name? Desmond Mutombo.
I
That's
know.
like a great name too.
That's
Yeah.
like
That's
walking into an improv scene and being like, "Oh fuck, I don't know." And it can't be Desmond Tutu. It can't be Dikembe Mutombo.
Exactly.
It's like,
Might as
yeah.
well be Bobby Lee Swagger. That's like a Bobby Lee Swagger name. That's
Yeah.
a great name for. And they also deliver on the red head mist. Like every
yeah.
sniper
Oh, yeah.
shot has like a beautiful.
Yeah. Oh.
Like that's what people want to see in a sniper movie, right?
That's what I'm there for.
That's a video. That's from the video game.
Yeah, the pink misting of fuck.
The pink mist.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's so awesome.
And the sound is like.
I'm so obsessed with snipers and sniper movies, all the way back to Tom Berenger in Sniper with Billy Zane. I love all these movies. Weirdly enough, I was talking about like a sniper being at I was at home on Long Island with my family, and we were just joking about like I'm running and jumping in the pool and a sniper shoots me, like how fucking crazy that would be. Like, and my sister-in-law gets all like, she's all stressed. I can see she's stressed out. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Is everything okay? And my brother, her fiance goes, she's actually like really scared of snipers. Like she has like a fear of snipers. And I'm like, oh my God, that must come up all the time. And he's like, it never comes up except when we're with you. You bring it up every single time. And I go, is that true, D? Like to my sister-in-law, she's like, yeah, you talk about him a lot. And I'm like, of course, your brother-in-law is a guy who's addicted to sniper, and you are afraid. No one in her life is bringing up snipers as frequently as I am. I'm like, it's so like I'm obsessed with the fucking the Baltimore sniper, that guy, the
Virginia
the Beltway.
The Beltway
where the
sniper.
two people
The
were in the
DC.
car.
The
Yeah.
father and son.
DC
Yeah.
sniper.
DC sniper, yes, thank you.
Yeah, the two people in the car. That is crazy.
Yeah, like the idea that like the Tom Cruise Jack Reacher movie, the first one, has like a crazy sniper attack that kicks off the movie.
Have you
Really?
seen Day of the Jackal yet?
Yes, I've seen Day of the Jackal, the original British movie. I've seen The Jackal with Bruce Willis.
Yep.
And then I also watched the Eddie Redmayne Day of the Jackal series,
Yeah.
which I loved.
really
it was
fucking
good.
good and great sniper shit in there too.
Pays you out on what you expect. It's
Yeah.
more violent than you think, and it's got Lashana Lynch in it, who I'm obsessed with.
I really like the specificity, and I know it ends up being like part of the setup of him going to Baltimore, going to Philadelphia, and going to DC, and like running through all, like, not only this is why these cities wouldn't work, so it has to be DC, and this is how I would do it, and you would need, for a shot that long, you're going to need 2 different wind meters. And then also that he notices, like, yeah, no, they tie yellow ribbons around trees, so those things in the
measuring the
background, those were set up by the sniper as like the final wind reading. So like all those specificities are so fucking cool.
I fucking love it. And I even really like the conceit that they're like, how would you do it if you did it? Is also the way to be like, he did it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, and where would you stand? Where would you put your fingerprints? You know what
And
I mean?
like what kind of cool stuff would you say in the lead up? Like, what would a suicide note sound like?
Yeah, well, just write something out that you might say, you know? Like, I just love all that they're just like slow walking him to his own frame up, and that's kind of like a fun idea too.
Yeah.
Where they play on his patriotism, and then like he brings that energy, and that ends up being his because then when it's all like kind of revealed, like on paper, he is like a guy who would be the perfect candidate to be like assassinate the president or accidentally shoot some kind of African leader.
Yeah. And was in that moment the bishop going to say, was he going to reveal about the Ethiopian manslaughter thing or whatever?
something, or he at least was going to be able to have power over the American government because of its existence, because of his knowledge of it. I don't know if he was going to blow the lid off of it or not. I'm assuming yes. Like,
Okay.
but that feels like a weird thing to do at like a presidential
Yeah.
rally.
I could see, like, if somebody, like, if the script writer or somebody was asking the studio, like, guys, we need a little bit more clarity here. I could see this, like, the studio doing, like, the Jay Cutler in the bathroom thing, being like, don't care. Like,
We have the pink mist like 16 times in the
Right,
movie.
yeah.
We're going to be great.
like you're asking me for story specifics. Here's my note. Put 4 more pink mists in.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
We're teaching them how to spray paint your gun so it matches the environment which you're laying
I
in.
love laying the
snow,
leaves.
silver. Yeah,
I
he
love
teaches
that.
painting you how to camo the gun. There's one moment that felt a little off, which is he scopes the gun. I think he sets it. He checks his book. I don't know which kill it was. Then he throws the bullet in. That feels like the biggest motion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel like you'd cartridge that thing and then you. That's a
you
big.
fine tune the sight.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yes, I forget where that was, but I'm like, that's not true. But
I gotta shoot a sniper rifle. I want to shoot one.
Have you ever shot one?
I've never shot one. I went to that crazy Vegas gun range where they let you shoot like
multi-action.
yeah, and I shot like a belt-fed M60.
Oh my
and
God.
I shot like Magnum and a AR-15 and an Uzi and stuff. But I've never shot a sniper. I'd like to go on a range and just see like how difficult it, because it does feel a little like, well, once you line it up, like you know, like how hard can you pull, you know? But you know it's not that. But
I am like I am a vehemently anti-gun person. Like whatever. I can qualify it a little bit more. Like growing up in Maine, like I'm not against hunting rifles. People need to hunt, but I am generally against like weapons of warfare in the hands of civilians.
Right.
And part of the reason is I have a really good friend who grew up a gun person. Actually, is a very like liberal person. But is somebody, he's got a little Bobby Lee swagger in him. Like he makes his own, he doesn't make his own bullets, but he will case and like whatever you call it when you like the amount of gunpowder that's in there. Like he builds it all himself. He puts the bullets into the shells. And so we went up to visit him, and he lives like way out in the woods with his wife in Michigan. And he was like, all right, we're going to shoot some guns. And we were doing like 200-yard shots with an AR-15. And I have never shot an AR-15 before. And I am putting these fucking rounds in something the size of a human neck from 200 yards. And I was like, yeah, human beings should not be allowed to have these.
Yeah.
It is like
I'm almost at the point where we shouldn't be allowed to have cars. No
Yeah.
less like
No less
machine
fucking
guns.
guns.
Yeah.
it's just like the learning curve on these should be way higher.
It's a little terrifying. I too am anti-gun. I want them exclusively in movies.
Yes.
And tons of them in
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
I want them on ranges for people, but like there's something I would never have one because it just is too scary of a thing to even have in
Oh,
my house.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
You'd either hurt yourself or you'd hurt someone else with it.
Yeah, or because
that
I
you
know
care
I'd be
about.
like, someone's at my fucking
Yeah.
door, and I'd
Yeah.
shoot my Postmates guy that I
Yeah.
forgot.
Your dog ran away.
Or the-
What was that?
in the trial, they're like, yet 20 minutes previous, you had ordered Postmates, and yet you were surprised.
You
that-
paid for priority. You knew
Yeah.
they were going to come faster, and you stood by the door vigilant with your fucking...
What if there were self-driving guns in the way that like self-driving cars are going to make us safer? What if there were self-driving guns that decided what's a threat and what's not?
I mean, that's where...
Wouldn't that make us safer?
This is such a fun topic of conversation because it's terrifying in one way where you're like, self-driving cars, I'd never let one drive me. But then when you're on the road with other self-driving cars, you're like, this is the safest I've ever felt. Is this car is stopping
predictable.
fully at the stop sign. It's predictable because it's following the law. And you're like, well, it's crazy. It's like waiting to make this right. And it's like, it's not making it right because it's no turn on red. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, is this the actual safest way to do this? Like
Yeah.
there'll be some computer error, but it'll be lower than human error for
It
sure.
will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many times is the computer like being like, I'll look at these apps.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm doing pretty good. I got this in a straight line. Let me just check out this app real quick. And like
Yeah.
that,
Oops,
the fucking
spilled my iced coffee,
Yeah.
like there's just, and just being on the road, like at first I was like, Waymos, get these fucking things out of here. Then when you drive next to one and it's like, doesn't drift over into your lane at
No.
all. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, maybe these cars are legit.
like the Minority Report version of car travel
Yeah.
is, I gotta say, a good idea.
Yeah, the idea of like I could just be in the, like if you give me a car that I can just have the windows down, like smoking a joint, and, like playing video games in, and I just arrive at work, like that's the fucking dream.
They want you in there so you can surf the dead internet. That's
Right,
what
yeah,
they want.
yeah,
they
they want
want to take you away from the wheel, get you in the back seat because there'll be big screen TVs there, so you can purchase more things and surf the dead.
Because
Or
when
play
you're driving, you can't get more ads and products in front
Yeah.
of you.
and you can't purchase as well.
That's fucking crazy.
That's why they want the self-driving cars. It's a purchase point. Once they get you in the back seat or the seat where you can pop your laptop or your tablet open,
click on things and work and engage.
then they got your attention.
or arguably too from like us as a labor force too. It's
well,
like,
attention is currency. That's the
yeah,
latest.
and then you can like.
Yeah.
Your boss could be like, "Well, on your ride in, you should be answering emails if you're
Oh,
like,
you're
self-driving."
right.
Yeah. It's like an extra hour of work that your
You're
boss can
right.
like kind of demand out of you.
It's going to hurt our podcast business too, because once people are self-driving, they're not going to listen to
They're gonna watch
podcasts.
movies,
They're going to like.
watch YouTube videos. They're gonna watch porn. You're gonna just be, why the fuck would you be like, oh, what's
Jacking it.
happening on second in command while I drive? That's what we were saying when we did our first live show. We were like, will people like us if they're not also doing the dishes while listening? Like, will they, once they sit down and have to give us full attention, would they be like, this is
Right.
much better in the car? Like, and that's like upsetting to them.
I like miss every eighth word, and when I'm in the car, and like that's kind of better.
We're making a product to passively engage with is kind of like upsetting in a
Yes.
weird way.
Yes.
I do love that you're like like when you were like, yeah, I get to smoke a joint on my way to work. I'm like, that kind of maybe it hurts your chances with future employers. But then I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna be going to his job at a click farm. Like that's what the job's gonna be.
I'm gonna be going just downvoting beheading videos or whatever. You know, like who knows, whatever. I'll need like medical cannabis to get me through my day of like, if you don't push the red button, 6 people die. If you do push it, 5 people die. What do you want? And you're like, huh?
That's your job.
I'm the guy from the trolley car hypothetical. Yeah, it's a career now.
That's all the jobs. At least
$8.75 an hour. Yeah.
be happy you have this job, and you're not one of the people whose job it is to get killed by the button.
Yeah, you're the button pusher. I mean, that is you're describing pretty much the entire idea of society right now, where it's like society's become you push a button, someone dies, and someone's like, well, if I'm a button pusher, who cares?
Yeah.
And it's like that's all that matters is like, well, it's not me, right? I get to benefit from the crumbling of society. You're like, yeah, this Bitcoin shit's gonna wipe us all out. It's like, but I got in there early, so
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, okay, then yeah, then you're taking advantage of this fucking shit show.
There's like that movie, I don't think it was very good. I think it was called The Box or something like that, where it was like a film version of somebody presents you with a box, and if you hit the button, one person in the world will die, but we will give you $150,000 or whatever. The choice is whether. And it feels like you can't make that movie now because the entire movie will be like, before they even tell you about the money, they're just going to be like, meh.
That you push this button and kill somebody. Great.
Kill-
Well, here's
like-
your $100,000. Oh, I didn't even know.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
We weren't killing an enemy. We were just killing a person. It's like, yeah, but I got to push the button. How sick is that?
I just got really depressed about our society.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, now's the
I
time.
mean, not that I didn't know
Yeah.
it, but I wasn't thinking about it.
Well, once I push enough buttons, I get enough Musk bucks. I can finally move indoors or whatever the future holds. for
Go
us.
into the bunker?
Yeah. You get,
Oh, my God.
Somebody smarter than me said this about Bitcoin, which was everybody that's into Bitcoin doesn't want a different system. They just want the same system, but with them on top.
right. Yeah.
That's-
They want to be the federal.
They
Reserve,
want to
yeah.
be they want to be the button pusher, and they feel like they aren't.
It's fucking crazy.
Josh Gondelman, God, I just saw like a great stand-up bit from Josh Gondelman last night where it was like, if you're into Bitcoin, you don't also get to be into like police and laws. Like you can, if you lose all your Bitcoin, you can't be like 911. It's like, choose, are you a fucking outlaw or are you a snitch?
Yeah.
And then it's like, he's like, so if your Bitcoin gets stolen, you've got to do the thing where you like hack in and some guy named Continuum fucking, you have to like try to find him and you have to like jump into the computer screen. Stop
Right.
being such a fucking bitch. Like commit to it.
It is kind of real where you're like, yeah, Bitcoin feels like we are outside the system. Okay. But of course, I'm benefiting greatly from the system as well. And you're
Yes.
like, oh, come on.
Yeah. Whenever anybody loses their Bitcoin, they're all of a sudden very worried that it's not centralized.
Yeah.
They're like, how can I get this back? And the government's like,
The thing
yeah,
you
man.
like about it is that it's on the blockchain.
Yeah.
pal.
Nobody knows.
Again, I don't even know what half of these sentences are that I'm saying. Like, if someone asked me to drill down, like, explain the blockchain, I would just, like, my nose would start bleeding.
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, back to Bobby Lee Swagger.
So Bobby Lee Swagger, I feel like, so I watched a movie that was fucking incredible that I had never seen before, which is The Parallax View.
Oh, hell yeah.
Unfucking believable.
Great movie.
And I'm gonna connect these two things. I feel like, and also I'll throw it to the movie Cobra, which you mentioned as well, that a lot of people grew up watching The Parallax View and Cobra and then movies like Shooters, and then we're just like, yeah, the government's all a conspiracy and it's all these things and it's like, well, where's the proof? And it's like, well, I watched The Parallax View and then 10 years later I just thought it was true.
Right.
I can't remember where I learned it. But you
I can't
realize
point to
going
proof.
back,
Yeah.
you realize going back that it's like, oh yeah, I was really worried about Antifa or whatever because of Cobra. You know what I mean? And it's like, I was just like, eventually I forgot I watched the movie, but I just took all those things as truth. And I feel like Shooter has a little bit of that, of like the deep state, the cabal that's actually running
Right,
things.
right. That the president doesn't even know about and that,
Yeah.
like, is beyond the president. And all of these movies that you've just discussed, every single thing we've talked about, I'm sure every single thing you talk about on this show has been absolutely ruined by our recent presidents.
Yeah.
Because, like, could you imagine Trump or even Biden? Like, if Biden's the guy who's like, listen, Joseph Robinette Biden, there was an attempt on your life today. And he'll be like, who was it, Jack? You know, like, like what has happened? Like, they've ruined the idea of fucking presidents being characters in movies. Like Trump on Air Force One, like you would watch the movie and root for the plane to crash.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we're in such a crazy world now where, and I've talked about this countless times, but like these presidents have ruined the ideas of movies of also now it's like the secret cabal. It's like the Department of Health, you know, like everyone is a fucking, we have all these villains that aren't like shady villains anymore. They're just out and right. It's like, I'm Don Bongino. I'm a fucking psychopath and I run the FBI now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that-
you're like, holy shit. It used to be like, what? The assistant director of the FBI is in on the criminal case? It's like, now it's like, the assistant director of the FBI posted on Facebook that he's a criminal. You
Yes.
know, you're like, okay.
That one hit a little bit hard last night.
Yeah.
When I like coming back from a party, and then like
Podcaster.
in the announcement, he's like, he's one of the most successful podcasters out there, and I'm like, I don't think that's a prerequisite.
He'll have to step down to co-run to be the deputy director of the FBI. Like, you have to give up your podcast.
I don't. In this world, he won't.
No, he won't.
Yeah.
Carter gave up his peanut farm. This is the last time anyone ever did something like
Yeah.
that. Everyone just signs with CAA and UTA when they're done being a president now. Anyway,
Yeah.
It's so fucking
It
crazy.
is crazy.
It's so crazy. It's like everyone just wants to do our job. Everybody just wants to be a comedian or a podcaster or an entertainer of some sort.
Yeah.
And eventually they just were like, well, I got into politics so I could become famous and have people like me or be considered funny or whatever. Everything is clapbacks online. It's all like, well, damn, try that to me, Donald Trump. I'm a sitting senator. You know, it's like, get the fuck. I'm the one who makes wise ass comments. You have to run the country.
Yes. It is immensely frustrating.
I picture Air Force One kind of like with Trump. It's kind of like, go tuck his shirt in. No, I'm not going to tuck his like he's like this fucking animal asshole who will bite you if he sees you in his field of vision, and then yet they're going to do another presser so he can cancel relations with Canada or whatever's on his he just came out of the bathroom. Was like, I want a press conference now, and then somebody's like, go tuck his go fucking tuck
Give him
his
his iPad.
Yeah.
Give him his iPad. It'll distract him. No, let him tweet. If he's tweeting, he's not making policy.
He's got like ketchup on his chin. No, I'm not going fucking.
His fly is open and like the dress shirt is like kind of coming out of the
Yeah.
fly, and it's like, well, somebody fucking tell him. It's like, no, if I tell him, we're gonna
all
get fired.
greased up with fucking self tanner. The shirt is like orange and
He's
brownish.
got pee-pee on his fucking pants. I'm not going near him. Put him behind the desk.
And Air Force One now is just like whatever. Some Russians get on the plane, and he's like, cool.
Have a seat. All right, some of the best. We got some of the best. Goddamn Russian terrorists hijacking this plane. We got some of the best. Putin sends his best.
He's pushing his own Secretary of Defense out. There, he's like, I don't know. They asked me to.
Sorry, Pete. Take a dive. Out of shoots, Hexeth.
God.
Oh, this fucking. Every time I watch like a political thriller or like this movie, you're like, imagine Air Force. I do this one too much, but Independence Day, like, you know, it's like the speech, like, you know, well, luckily the president was a fighter pilot, so he's like, luckily the president was a realtor, so he can help us. Like in the post, like when the world falls apart, it's like, we need a speech, Mr. President, to rally the people of the world to fight an alien invasion. Yes, Donald Trump, please give us that speech.
Oh, I'll negotiate tough with them.
Yeah,
I
If
will
these
get us the
aliens-
best deal.
I'm a deals guy. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna talk to the aliens. And like, hey.
People say I'm the guy to get the best deal with the aliens, so we'll see what happens. That's what they tell me. I'm gonna get the best deal.
How often do you think you'll go back to Shooter? I think that's a question. The question underneath the statement I was about to make.
It's weird that kind of action thrillers and political thrillers and courtroom thrillers and even more specifically underdog social change kind of thrillers, those movies are comfort movies for me.
Yeah.
So like this, there's something in its simplicity. Like I almost didn't even fully watch it last night. It kind of I just like parallel played with the movie again. Like it's on and I'm like existing alongside of it and enjoying it, but I'm not fully engaged on it. And there's just something that's powerful.
like a fish tank
Yeah.
for
There's
you.
like something that's like powerful about that. Like
Yeah.
this was probably my 6th viewing of the movie. You know what I mean? Like I've seen it a bunch, and it's one of those. I guess what I'm chasing frequently, and you guys are similar in age, so you'll understand this. Young people, you might not, but like there used to be a time where you'd be like, "Oh fuck, it's like halfway through Shooter. This is actually a cool sequence. I might as well leave this on the TV."
Yeah.
Like where you'd find something. You're like, "What is this?" It's the middle of a martial arts movie. It's pretty good. I guess I got to watch a chunk of it to try to track it down in the future, or like, oh fuck, it's Jaws. It's right at the end. We might as well just leave this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm chasing that all the time. So you have to kind of
Yeah.
create that yourself with like, well, let me throw Shooter on while I cook dinner and be like, oh fuck, it's the sequence at the cabin. Oh shit, it's
Right.
this. Like,
Is there a style of this movie like this time period. I think in my mind goes to like Lone Survivor, which I think was a little bit later. Is there a version of this movie that maybe doesn't kind of fall off the rails a little bit toward the end? Can you think of like, is there a recommendation that you think is like analogous to that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I do like Lone Survivor. That is also Marky Mark.
Yeah, Marky Mark.
But that's based on a true story, a book I read when I thought I was going to be a Navy SEAL. And, that's a really good question. What would be a similar style of movie?
Do you need it to be sniper?
Not
or
sniper,
just like
but
war
this
hero
kind of thing, almost
vigilante.
like American hero. This like incredibly well trained man, like the government trained him, and now his enemy is the government.
Right? Yeah.
Like
There's
that
something.
sort of
there's
thing.
something cool about that.
Rambo 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think the First Blood is one of the perfect. Like, I mean, there's a movie that like you can't understand the franchise, where the original appearance of the character and the franchise don't line up whatsoever. You know, there's a famous story that David Morrell, the guy who wrote the book First Blood, when he got the contract to make, he was like, "Oh, I'll have a lawyer friend look at it, but you know, maybe I can get a little more money out of him." And the lawyer friend's like, "Look, I'm gonna fight and get you like the rights to like movies, TV shows, lunchboxes, merch, whatever." And he's like, "It's a movie about a vet coming home and like violently attacking authority because he has PTSD, and it's his struggle through being a Vietnam vet, a homeless guy, blah blah." And the dude's like, his lawyer friend's like, "Well, then it doesn't matter. Then it won't happen, and then it's fine. But you might as well have this protection if you can." And then Rambo became Rambo, like
became
toys, lunchboxes, and there was an animated cartoon series for kids about Rambo. A guy who was like there's been 6 movies. David Morrell, this guy who just randomly just was like, I have this interesting story to tell, has now got a fucking millions of dollars because he wouldn't. Who would have? The lawyer just was like, you might as well protect yourself.
That is one of those things. So I actually didn't watch the Rambo movies until I think I was in my 20s, simply because it was one of those ones that I was like, oh, I've seen it. I've seen all the clips. I know what it is.
Seen the parodies of it.
I've seen the parodies of it, like in Hot Shots or whatever.
Right.
Even in fucking UHF. It's like, I've seen it. And then I watched the first Rambo, and I was like, this story about like a PTSD suffering homeless Vietnam vet who like locks himself in a hardware store and fights a sheriff,
fights the police, and the police aren't like out and out corrupt bad guys per se either. Like it's very gray area in a cool way. And it's like, and then the next movie's like, you're going back to Vietnam. Can I win this time? Yeah, of course.
Of course, man.
Are we allowed to win this time?
Oh, you know what that reminds
That's a fucking crazy relitigation of Vietnam.
There was
we weren't allowed to win. No, we fucking lost.
We lost, and no amount of Rambo First Bloods are going to change that. Right. There was a great podcast miniseries that The Ringer did about the Vietnam War in films, and it is actually called "Can We Win This Time?" Oh. And it talks about all of that, about the relitigation of it, how it's, and then they also have like a little bit of history of like, oh, this is what actually happened, or this is the reason it was portrayed like this, or Platoon being the first time that you're seeing a more realistic and less heroic version of it. Like, I don't know. It's I really enjoyed that.
Oh, I'll check it out because I used to, of course, being a kid of the 80s and 90s, your action movies were frequently either in Vietnam or more specifically, everyone was a Vietnam vet.
Yes.
And it was always like, I mean, Paul Kersey from the Death Wish movies was a conscientious objector in the Vietnam. Chuck Norris always plays a Vietnam vet. All these guys were in Vietnam where they got their training, or like, or the random heroes, like he was a vet, he drafted and he didn't want to be violent, and now he is. And it's like
Riggs and Murtaugh.
It's such this like kind of rich thing. And then so you chase these Vietnam movies when you're a kid and you're like, oh cool, I want to watch this movie, oh cool, I want to watch this movie. And then you get to Casualties of War, which you're like, oh cool, another Vietnam movie. And it's like, oh my god, it's about the rape of like a fucking child. And now I'm like 14 thinking I'm about to watch some like jingoistic, like let's kill some VC, and then instead I'm like wait, what
You're like,
happened over there?
Are we the baddies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real moment.
Wait, Aaron, just in the case, you said both Riggs and Murtaugh?
From Lethal
Yeah.
Weapon.
Yeah, they're both Vietnam.
They are
Yeah,
both
they're both
Vietnam vets.
Vietnam
We're getting
vets.
that
Yes.
from Hell
Well,
yeah.
Riggs is in a really special unit because he's like special forces, and that's why he squares off against Mr. Joshua,
Hell
who's
yeah.
played by Gary Busey, who's also a crazy fucking ex Vietnam guy.
All right, so we're going to get into, so we ask 3 questions at the end of every episode. The first one, the story goes, Walsh and I had the same dentist. Before we had ever met, we went to Dr. Peter Shimizu on the Wilshire Corridor.
I wonder if he gets name checked every show.
Every
by the way,
show.
it's so weird. His daughter's who took over the practice. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, he's since retired, wonderful dentist, wonderful guy. We noticed somewhere around season 3 of Veep, because he would always be like, hey, I saw Matt last week or whatever. Around season 3, you know how like you go and you get your teeth cleaned, the hygienist is in there. We noticed around season 3 that he was kind of coming in to tap out the hygienist and spend a little more time with us.
A little FaceTime.
So we realized it was like, oh my God, we're getting a little Shimizu heat right now.
Yeah.
Like the word's starting to get out. Like, and so this idea of Shimizu heat became, you're like, you got some momentum in the business. Like, so the question is like, who in this movie has the Shimizu heat?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm gonna go with Pena. He like
Yeah.
he's got like he's clearly a developed working actor before this,
Yeah.
and will continue to work after and forever. But there's something about being the guy with chops next to Mark Wahlberg,
Yeah.
which kind of like lets you shine even more. You know, it's like casting like a short guy to play basketball against you in a movie. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like having Bobby Lee go up against Memphis like that. You know, he brings a sort of like subtlety that is here before never seen in a Mark Wahlberg movie. So
Yeah.
he's got that Shimizu heat.
The
if you will.
naturalism of it. Yeah, he's very noticeable in this. Yeah.
And I even remember at the time, I think that's a great answer. I even remember being like a Michael Pena fan, but I remember like when I went in and saw it was like, oh shit, oh Michael Pena, okay, like this is a big step up. You
Maybe
know,
number 2, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like he's like the second lead in the movie. Like,
Maybe
that's fun.
Mara, Kate Mara.
Yeah, maybe Kate Mara.
Kate
would
Mara.
I
get-
could see Glover being number 2, even though
yeah,
he isn't
call
it
sheet
on the
wise.
call
Yeah,
sheet,
yeah.
but not.
Or he got an
minutes-wise.
and
Yeah.
at the
Oh, he
end.
probably was
Glover
an
and
and.
feature or whatever.
Yeah.
Where they were,
It would
But
be
on the
an
call
and.
sheet,
introducing Danny Glover.
Yeah.
on the call sheet, he's number 2. Glover's
Yeah.
number 2. You're absolutely
All right, so this might be a little bit of a harder one, but the
Yeah.
president in this film, what do you think their policy platforms were, and would you vote for this ticket?
Oof. I don't know. I would maybe. This is a crazy thing to think about voting, because it is sort of like. It used to be like, oh, I want to be excited about the guy. Now it's like I'm terrified of the other guy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
vote now in a weird way. But I think he doesn't really have a lot of policies out there.
No.
I do like that he's on a public speaking tour. I think that's a very interesting choice.
Taking it out to the people.
Yeah, which is kind of what Trump did, I guess. Backing off. I mean,
Well, Trump didn't really
Imagine
feature anyone else. He didn't share the bill. This guy's
No.
sharing the bill,
Right, yeah.
which maybe is a good sign too.
yes, I do like that. Now, why am I thinking of the guy from fucking Huntsville, Pennsylvania, being like the fucking Bobby Lee swagger of like it's all a frame job. They just picked like the goofiest, weirdest guy.
That guy's the fat cop.
Yeah, right.
He's the Jack Ruby. Oh Lord.
Yeah, I think I would vote for him. I think I would vote. You know what? He didn't put Bobby Lee swagger in jail, so he has my vote for.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Love that.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Seems like he stayed pretty calm under the guy getting pink misted next to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it shows a little.
What was his code name? I forget.
Oh, I forget too.
It wasn't
Oh.
French fry, but it was
Traveler.
Traveler.
Birdman.
Because sometimes the code name can tell you what the service thinks of him,
Right.
but we don't really know his call sign. Anyways,
There was one little moment where when Danny Glover is in that cabin at the beginning, in like the swagger mountain cabin,
Yeah.
is like, it's like, don't you care if the president gets killed? And he's like, I don't care much for this president. Didn't care much for the last one either. And it's like sort of showing he's like politically agnostic.
Yeah.
But I do get the sense that like the fact that Bobby Lee Swagger was anti that president makes me think I might agree with some of the presidents.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
he's letting in. Tell these illegals I said hello to their mother. Tell your mother I said hello, illegal immigrants. You're like, okay, Bobby.
okay, Bobby.
Yeah. Even just a guy with 3 names like that, I'm like, I don't think we're gonna line up politically.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a
I
very
think we're
good.
from different homes.
All right, before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to plug? Anything you want to tell the
Yes.
people at home?
I have a movie podcast called The Action Boyz, and we cover 70s, 80s, and 90s action movies. It is a Patreon podcast, so you got to pay money, but we have free episodes available at free.actionboys.biz. Get a little sniff, get hooked, and keep coming back for more.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you. Thank you.
John Gabrus, thank you so much for being here, man. This has been a joy.
Please. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. Just get
Pink
absolutely.
mist.
I hope you enjoyed your last podcast.
What?
What?
We forgot to talk about the civil where you wrap a bullet in paper.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That
so-
hides the signature groove.
Yeah, so that
On the bullet.
Yeah, that's weird. We didn't talk about the.
Oh, that was Lee Von Helm from the band.
that was
That guy who played the expert
Really?
was Lee Von Helm from the group The Band.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Yeah,
I didn't even
legend.
put that together. Legend.
Yeah.
Also, if you haven't watched,
Good turn too. He did a great job.
Yeah.
he was so good as that guy.
And he didn't he the high five? He slapped his
He
hand.
grabbed his hand and looked at it to see if it was a
that's
shooter.
right. That's
He did it to Pena and then slapped it when he realized he was soft.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he grabbed Mark Wahlberg had the fucking like a rifle groove in his hand. more or less.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're the guy. Yeah, that's a very cool moment. I just watched The Last Waltz for the first time like 2 years ago, and I've watched it like 6 times since.
Oh,
It's
my
so
God.
fucking
So
good.
good.
It's so fucking good.
Thank you very much, man. We have been Second in Command. We used to be a Veep Rewatch podcast, but now we do this. We examine the politics of cinema in cinema about politics.
Terribly said.
Jesus Christ.
But you guys, we do movies with presidents or vice presidents.
Yeah, we talk about the general surroundings. What a great tagline. Catch us on Patreon. We're over there now. Patreon.com/Second in Command to sign up. Well, I should give them the piece.
Peace.